Hi guys, today we're going to start creating some silhouette shapes to add to our spooky backgrounds that we made last week. And a silhouette is simply dark shapes against a light background. So this is an example of a painting I did. I think we're going to be using black paper instead of paint. That way you can play around with the shapes before you decide if you actually want to use them or not. So I gave everybody a handout to look at. So if you're looking for some ideas, you certainly don't have to use this sheet if you have some ideas that you'd like to use. But I think it's a good idea to have at least maybe one tree or maybe a part of a tree branch in your artwork. Maybe you'd like to put a spooky cat, some sort of a silhouette of a bird or an owl. You might even consider adding a fence to yours, and certainly somewhere you're going to want to have probably a jack-o'-lantern in your scene. That's what I did here. If you can see, this would be a black shape that you would cut out, and I would give you some yellow paint so you could add that later. So today you'll just be cutting out the silhouette shapes. So I didn't cut yours out yet. You still have that white sidewalk going around yours, and when you're done with your composition, I will trim them all to neaten them all up. But today you can just go ahead and cut out your shapes. And I'll show you a few that I've already cut out. I cut out a tree, I cut out the ground, and that's probably the first thing I would cut out. Is in our silhouette, we want to have a dark ground somewhere at the bottom so that the shapes that we add don't look like they're just floating around. So I cut a piece of black paper to look like the ground. Then I cut a tree that I wanted to look like it's going right into the page, so it's right on the edge here. But of course, you could also have the tree move over if you shape it a little different and add some branches coming off the tree. Or I'm going to keep my tree look like it's going off the edge of the paper, and maybe I'll have a branch sort of coming into the scene as well. So I'm just going to set my pieces out, create a composition. That's called when you arrange your shapes before you actually glue them down. You're thinking about your arrangement. That's called composition. How will I compose these shapes here? Now it looks like I need a little something in the sky. Maybe I'll put a bat shape in the sky. I would also cut out some jack-o'-lantern shapes. Now on my black piece of paper, I'm going to not draw right in the center. I'm going to draw a little lower. I know I want to create kind of a large jack-o'-lantern with the stem. Remember, it's just the silhouette, so you're only drawing the shape. Maybe I'll also draw a shorter, fat jack-o'-lantern right next to it. Now I'm going to cut these shapes out. A little trick that I like to do when I'm cutting is I like to cut quickly from the big piece. It's a lot easier to handle when you only have a small piece to work with. So now when I'm cutting these shapes out, it should be a lot easier. Even this I'm going to separate. That now I can cut these out so much easier. So let me quickly cut these. And you notice how I'm turning the paper as I cut, so I get a nice smooth edge. Now I don't want my I don't want my white pencil to show, so when I glue this down, I'm going to be gluing it down this way, so it'll be sort of the reverse. Okay, let's set this composition out again since I bumped it. Maybe I'll put the bat up higher in the sky, although you can't see him very well. We'll add moons to ours. Now right now he looks like he's floating, which is fine. If you want a floating jack-o'-lantern, I could add a fence, silhouette of a fence, something like this one in here. Maybe make some skinny rectangles and glue them together to make it look like the jack-o'-lanterns are sitting on a fence. Or if I want them on the ground, I can set them down here. I'm going to cut out my second one here. Here's my second one. Don't want the white to show, so I'm going to flip it over. Maybe I'll put him down here. So far I like what I have here. I think I'd also like to see some sort of a bird or maybe an owl perched in that branch. So I'm going to look at my sheet here and see what does the silhouette look like. Oh, that looks pretty good. It looks like a big oval. I'm kind of noticing an oval shape here with a circle on top of it, and these feathers that stick out, they almost look like their ears, but they're feathers of the owl, look like triangles. So I'm going to try to copy that shape. So I will get my black scrap of paper, and I will try drawing that shape. I don't want to draw right in the middle because I might want this for a fence or something. So I know I want the shape to be about this big. So I'm going to put it in there. Let's see, I'm going to start with an oval, and then I know there was his feathers hanging down and he had a head shape. these two little sort of feathery shapes sticking out. So I think that would make a nice silhouette. So I'm going to cut that out. So again, my little trick. Cut the shape out first pretty fast so that all I have to do now is just trim it. Remember, it's just a silhouette, so I only need to get the shape of this owl. I don't need to worry about the little details because you wouldn't see them. There's very little light shining on the owl because it's nighttime. Just the moonlight behind him. So all I would see is the silhouette of my owl. So I think I'm going to put him a little lower branch. Maybe I'll put the bat up a little higher. I could also take a black permanent marker and add off in the distance some other little shapes. I'll outline this with black permanent marker. These bats look like they're far, far away. I think I'll add a few more branches to my trees. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this right now. Of course, I could keep going. I could put a fence in the background. I think I like these shapes, so I'm ready to start gluing these down. I like the composition the way it is right now. So when you guys are ready to glue, please make sure that the glue is just twisted up a little bit when you use the glue, and then when you're done, would you please make sure that you wind it as far down as it will go, and then when you put the cap on, you should hear this snap. Hear that snap? That means it's closed. It'll be ready and fresh for the next person who goes to use it. So when you glue, you want to make sure you put the glue on the back of the shape, and I don't want to do that right on top of my artwork. So I'm simply going to use my glue on my glue mat, and I'm going to rub a little glue on the edges of my shape. I really don't need it everywhere. This is a small shape, so I'm getting most of it. And I'm going to glue this down here. I didn't get my big shape first, but I will do the ground also. So when you're gluing, work on your glue mat, get the edge. Make sure that no pieces are sticking out. Okay, I think you guys get the idea. Now if I'm done with the glue stick, wind it back down. Put the glue cap on. Do I hear it? Yep, I hear it, so I know it's shut. Thanks, guys.